How do you find that data risk management is becoming a top priority for the industry or for organizations that you work with? And how really are you mitigating that?
Yeah, so we're seeing the topic of data risk controls and reconciliation come up across all customers. 2 years ago, customers didn't care about data reconciliation, or at least it didn't come up through the implementation process. It was very much an afterthought. We've seen huge fines leveraged against organizations, particularly due to unauthorized channels. We've seen the FCA explain the importance of end-to-end data controls, especially with trade data. And we've seen a number of companies simply put their hands up and say, we want to be best in class when it comes to data risk controls and reconciliation. So all three of those have been drivers of change when it comes to data risk. And we're seeing huge interest in data risk controls projects across the board.
You talked a little bit about the fines, and we know that the fines levied in the Americas was north of 2 billion or something along those lines. And we see that coming to Europe as well, not just from an unauthorized channels perspective, but also some of those large fines following the counterparts here. How is that something that this solution really is going to help with?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge that we've found is that firms are failing at step one. So being asked to actually present a list of the authorized channels that you're surveilling presents somewhat of a challenge for a lot of organizations. So that's the first step, actually documenting it. The second step is going through the process of audit or risk assessment when it comes to data control. So this looks at going through each of the different data integrations, understanding what the risks might be, whether it's SMTP journaling, whether it's an SFTP pull, object storage push, or an API. You need to know exactly how you're integrating with different data types in order to be able to put controls in place and tell the regulator or an internal auditor or a monitor exactly what you're doing in this area. And that is even before you talk about the concept of reconciliation that a lot of companies seem to think is a very easy prospect to conduct, but actually turns out to be quite challenging.
I know that there's been an influx of new data types, and something where 5 years ago we were using maybe WhatsApp, Slack, potentially Zoom.
Yeah.
Actually, no, not at all. Let's scrap that. I don't think Zoom even existed 5 years ago. It's a COVID baby, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the data types. I know just in the past 10 years, you've gone from having simple data types like Bloomberg, email, maybe Skype, to WhatsApp, Zoom, Viber, telemessage, Telegram, all of the different ones that are coming out day in, day out. And there must be hundreds of data types at this point. And keeping stock of those and reconciling those within an organization and deciding what is actually a valid data type and what is one that shouldn't be authorized. How do you find that being a critical juncture that organizations are at and struggle with?
Yeah, you're right. There's been an explosion in the number of data channels that can be integrated with any surveillance system. Now, Behavox likes to think that we integrate with all of them, and really we do. So as soon as there's a new communication type, we'll create a plugin that actually integrates with that data type and starts ingesting the data. But there are a few things that you need to consider before actually doing the integration. One, is it possible? Some of the nascent technologies wasn't even possible to integrate with. So for example, WhatsApp, when it first came out, couldn't integrate with that data type. Secondly, is it affordable? So even if you can integrate with it, is it going to be so expensive that the risk isn't worth it? So for example, you've got 2 monitored employees that you could quite easily do a random sample or manual review of their data. You wouldn't actually think about integrating them if it cost millions of dollars a year to do that. So that's something that we do with our customers right at the outset, is do that risk-based analysis. Ultimately, it's up to our customer and how big their risk profile is with a particular data channel on whether to integrate it. One thing I would say is it's very easy now to integrate with most of the channels. There's not a lot of reason, at least in the regulator's eyes, for why you're not integrating with particular data types.